The great day has finally arrived. It's time to take off. You're about to get on a plane, a marvel of technology and science that allows us to travel the world in perfect safety. Humans have always dreamed of flying, of looking down on the world like the birds, but it was always impossible. Until little more than a century ago. Think about it. You're lucky enough to live at a time in which it just takes us a few hours to travel from one continent to another. Just a few generations back, this would have been unthinkable. On the plane that you're about to take, every single detail has been meticulously designed for the safest experience possible. And I don't just mean engineering. That's great as well, but also the human and professional element. Here's Andrea Nobile, commander of the Airbus 320 for the company EAT Airways, who told us all about aircraft personnel.
Both cabin and crew receive regular training. Both pilots and flight assistants use simulators capable of recreating any real situation perfectly. Each scenario specifically studied to train and hone those skills that the flight personnel requires in order to carry out their duties in utmost safety. On top of this, they also have to go through inspections in order to guarantee the utmost standards. Anything less, and it's back to training.
So, it may seem counterintuitive that something as large as a plane can soar through the air in utmost safety. But it's absolutely true. All it takes is to study up a little bit, and anyone can see that everything is constantly being monitored in the tiniest of detail. Let's be honest, it's rare to find such a safe service. But enough talk. Let's get ready. It's time to board the plane. Breathe. This is Relax and Fly, the podcast that teaches you to enjoy your flight. Okay, flying is safe. We've repeated it so often by this point that it must be hammered into your head. However, fear is not always rational, just like we've seen before. So it's easy for you to feel anxious while getting on board. But then, how can you calm yourself down? First of all, my advice is to be honest. Don't hide your emotions. If you feel the need, let the flight assistant know that you're afraid. Sometimes we believe that owning up to our emotions makes us seem weak. But this way of thinking is useless and counterproductive. There's nothing wrong in being afraid and searching for help to manage it. If someone judges you for this, well, that's their fault. The best thing for you to do is to raise your hand and ask for support. No one is alone on a plane. The staff is trained to manage situations just like yours. They'll keep an eye on you throughout the flight and try their best to put you at ease. Another simple tactic is to do something that distracts you from your emotional state. In the first episode, we said that fear is perfectly human and even useful. We can hear the alarm go off because there's a reason. It's just the way we're programmed. The problem is when the alarm goes off, but there's nothing to fear, such as when we're somewhere safe, like an airplane. So if you can feel your brain alarm about to go off, try to focus on something else. If you've prepared your hand baggage properly, you'll probably have a book with you, a magazine, a podcast to listen to, or a crossword puzzle. Choose whichever pastime you prefer and enjoy yourself. Your emotional side will continue to be triggered under the surface, but by distracting your brain, you'll find a way to activate the more rational half. While you're on the plane, listening to music or reading your book, you may find yourself flying through turbulence. It's surely annoying, but it's also a perfectly normal air phenomenon. And there's no reason to worry at all. Just listen to what Commander Nobile has to say about it.
Assolutamente sì.
Turbulence is not dangerous for the plane. It's just a bit uncomfortable for the passengers. The pilots have specific procedures in place, so there's not the slightest danger to the craft.
Having said this, let's take an extra step. Let's try to understand what turbulence actually is, so as to perhaps neutralize its effect. A flight assistant once told me that turbulence is a bit like the waves of the sea. If you're on a ship, you'll probably feel the waves, and they can sometimes even be quite violent. In any case, a large ship crossing the sea has all the systems in place to deal with rough waters. I don't know if it's quite the same, but I have to admit that it's an image that helps me calm down. In any case, just to be sure, I asked Commander Nobile to explain turbulence as well.
Turbulence
is caused by irregular movement of the air, both in direction and intensity. Turbulence can be either at high or lower altitudes. In the case of low altitude, it's caused by obstacles that stop air from flowing regularly, such as, for example, when the ground warms up, and this causes the air to rise as well. At higher altitudes, so-called clear air turbulences are caused by jet streams. These jet streams are practically air rivers that cross the globe and reach speeds of up to 400 kilometers per hour. This type of turbulence isn't dangerous either, because airplanes are designed and built to weather this type of stress. After all, it's a well-known phenomenon.
So it's the same old story. Everything is safe and normal. Although we know that fear is really something more emotional than rational, of course. Next time you feel fear in any situation, pay attention to it. You'll notice that your breathing gets faster. This is because your brain is getting more emotional. What you can do to keep your emotions in check is to keep your breathing under control. So, close your eyes, relax, and slowly breathe inwards and outwards. Breathe in, count to 3. Stop and count to 2 without moving. Then, breathe the air out slowly, counting to 4 or 5, slowly and calmly. These are just a few things that you can do to enjoy the flight, to take the situation in your hands while keeping your fear at bay. However, there's one thought that in my opinion you should always keep in mind. Flying can be a beautiful thing. I know that it may seem impossible if you're afraid, but consider that there are people who love flying so much that they're even willing to turn it into a career. Andrea Nobile is one of these, which is why I asked him what he loves the most about flying.
I love everything about flying. Everything. I love the flying itself, seeing the world from up in the sky. I love the sunsets. I love the feeling of endlessness, of peace. I love that above all.
Like I said at the beginning, think of this. You're experiencing something that most humans that ever walked this planet would never have been able to do. And if you really can't bring yourself to fall in love with the trip, at least you can focus on the destination. Just think that you'll soon be landing and you'll be richer for it. You'll be able to enjoy your holiday or to return home or to have a new experience in your job. And not only this, above all, you'll be the type of person that doesn't let themselves be stopped by fear. See you in the next episode, where we'll talk about techniques for relaxing on board. Relax and Fly is a podcast series promoted by Aeroporti di Roma and produced by Cora Media. Written by Ilario Orru, narrated and adapted by John Vincent. Editing by Sarah Poma. The senior producer is Anna Nenna. Studio recordings by Luca Possi. Post-production and sound design by Emanuele Moscatelli. Music supervision by Luca Micheli.